Let's start with our first news. Khamzat Chimaev made a huge mistake according to Joe Rogan. Over the weekend, we saw Khamzat lose to Strickland in a close fight. Now Joe Rogan is speaking out, suggesting that one major mistake could explain the outcome. What happened? If you follow this channel, you remember the weigh-in controversy we covered earlier. After that situation, there were rumors that Khamzat might move up to 205 to fight Jiří Procházka, but the fight never materialized. Instead, the UFC booked him against Strickland at 185. Because of that switch, some believe Khamzat was forced into a massive weight cut for Saturday's fight. Adding more pressure, Arman revealed that Khamzat may have cut over 45 pounds to make weight. Right after Khamzat's split decision loss, Daniel Cormier brought up the earlier Procházka discussions during the broadcast with Joe Rogan. Rogan agreed it could explain Khamzat's early fatigue and lack of endurance. He said it's a good question and suggested it could absolutely be a factor, especially if Khamzat originally prepared his body to bulk up for 205. If true, the sudden change back to 185 may have forced an extreme cut that impacted performance. The fight was originally announced in mid-March, but fans are now questioning why Khamzat still needed such a drastic weight cut by fight week. The discussion has now sparked debate across the MMA community, with many pointing to weight management as a key factor in the outcome of the fight. This situation has raised serious questions about fight preparation, last-minute changes, and how extreme weight cuts affect elite fighters at the highest level of competition in the UFC, especially when performance drops unexpectedly in championship level. Matchups under intense pressure and global attention, moving forward analysis context matters. Move on to another news. Strickland has shown interest in a Nassourdine Imavov fight next, following a closely contested bout that many believed Khamzat got robbed. The rematch talk has gained serious attention, but confusion remains after Dana White claimed that Khamzat told him he is moving up to 205. However, Khamzat later responded on X, insisting he still wants the rematch with Strickland, creating mixed signals around his next move. He wrote on X, Strickland, "See you soon again," and followed it up with, "Let me know when you are ready." Strickland also addressed his future while speaking on the Paramount Plus broadcast desk, stating that Imavov is next in line. He said he plans to take a short break, support his teammate Alex Pantoja at the White House, allow his broken nose to heal, and recover after back-to-back training camps. He explained that he has been grinding for nearly 6 months straight and needs time off as his wife has carried much of the support at home, handling meals and nutrition throughout camp. Strickland emphasized he needs a breather before returning to competition, but still expects Imavov to be his next opponent once he is ready to compete again. During the UFC About Last Fight show, he repeated that Imavov appears to be the front-runner for his return fight, while also noting that the division will continue moving forward as he takes time to recover and reset his career momentum after a demanding stretch of competition. Imavov also seems to be on board with the idea of facing Strickland next, keeping the matchup relevant as the middleweight division continues to shift, with top contenders positioning themselves for title opportunities. Strickland's potential return timeline remains flexible depending on recovery and scheduling, but his focus remains locked on getting back into competition once he is fully healed. The conversation around his next fight continues to build momentum, especially with Imavov emerging as a consistent option across interviews and broadcasts. Both fighters appear open to the matchup, which keeps it one of the more likely fights in the near future, as fans and analysts await official confirmation from the UFC regarding final booking decisions and event placement. The situation remains fluid as negotiations progress behind the scenes, and both camps monitor developments closely before any official announcement is made, with timing expected to be finalized soon officially. Move on to another news. Due to how close the fight was, chances are a lot of people are going to watch it again. But if Tom Aspinall decides to do that, it seems clear that he won't do so with the sound on. Recently, Aspinall talked about the fight on his YouTube channel. During the video, he had more than a few complaints with how DC and Rogan called the fight. For example, during the 4th round, Aspinall said this: "DC talking about the only reason Strickland is getting tired is because Khamzat is landing body shots, not the fact that they've just had a fight for 20 minutes. That doesn't matter. It's just the body shots that are making him tired, nothing else." And in round 5, Aspinall had this to say about the commentating. The commentators are saying, Sean has got to land some big shots to win the fight in this 5th round. I know they're jabs, but he is landing a lot of them. Just because it's a jab doesn't mean it's insignificant. This sparked discussion as Aspinall expressed frustration with how key moments were being interpreted during such a close and competitive fight. He suggested that the commentary was overlooking overall fatigue, accumulated across multiple rounds, and instead focusing too narrowly on single sequences of body shots according to his view. Aspinall believed that the pace of the fight itself, combined with sustained exchanges, should have been given more weight in the analysis rather than isolating specific moments. He also emphasized that while jabs may appear less damaging visually, they can still accumulate and influence scoring over time, especially in championship rounds. Aspinall further explained that tone and narrative from commentators can shape audience perception significantly, particularly in fights that are closely contested and difficult to score. He concluded that consistency in judging commentary and fight breakdown is crucial for fair understanding of high-level MMA competition, and that small details should not overshadow the broader context of the entire bout and its evolving momentum across all rounds. Overall, the discussion around commentary has added another layer to post-fight analysis, with fans debating how much influence broadcast interpretation can have on perception of scoring and fighter performance, especially in closely contested UFC. Events where margins are extremely thin, and every exchange matters in shaping outcomes across modern MMA analysis landscape. Move on to another news. Sean Brady versus Carlos Prates next. Now that Sean Brady has returned to the win column by recording a dominant victory over Walking Buckley, could a title shot eliminator with Carlos Prates be next? Well, if that fight gets offered, it sounds like Brady will jump on the opportunity. Sean faced Buckley on the main card of UFC 328, and as many suspected would be the case, his wrestling and top game ruled the day. During his post-fight presser, he was asked about the possibility of fighting Carlos Prates next, and he wasted little time before saying that he would face the feared slugger. Here's what he had to say. What's next for you, because it seems Ian is going to get a title shot. Prates wants it. Michael, everybody wants a title shot. Morales still isn't booked. So do you have to fight back down? And I assume it's Philly and whoever is across I would fight. I don't know who's booked. I'd fight Usman because he's a former champion. I think that would make sense, might be going up. I heard he's going to middleweight, so I've fought back. I beat Leon Edwards, I was a #1 contender, I fought Morales, I just fought back again. I deserve to fight up. So we'll see how it plays out. Like, I would love to fight in Philly, but it's gotta make sense for me. I'm 33 years old. I'm getting better and better every time I go out there, and I want to be a UFC champion. And I'm just trying to inch my way towards that. I would 100% Carlos Prates. I would fight Prates 100%. I've asked for that fight before. Yeah, let's do it. It'll be interesting to see what direction the UFC goes in. The rumor right now is that Islam Makhachev will fight Ian Machado Gary in August. And if that happens, chances are it'll headline the August 15th card in Philadelphia. Of course, adding Brady to the Philly card would be a good way to boost ticket sales since he's from the city of brotherly love. Overall, the matchup between Sean Brady and Carlos Prates is gaining serious attention, as both fighters push toward higher rankings in the division, and the UFC may see this as a strong contender fight with major implications ahead. Move on to another news. Given how close the fight was and how many believed Khamzat got robbed, a rematch made sense. But during media scrum afterward, Dana White claimed that Khamzat told him he is moving up to 205. Later, Khamzat came on X and said he actually wants a rematch with Sean Strickland. That created confusion about his next move, because he is saying one thing to Dana and something completely different on social media. He posted on X, "Sean Strickland, see you soon again," and followed it with, "Let me know when you are ready." So nobody really knows what to believe right now. If Khamzat does move up to light heavyweight, the question became what is next for Strickland. While speaking on the Paramount Plus broadcast desk, Strickland made it clear that Nasruddin Imavov is next in line. He said Imavov is next, then mentioned he wants to take a short break, support his teammate Alex Pantoja at the White House card, and give himself time to recover his broken nose. He also explained he has been through back-to-back camps and needs time off. He said his wife has been a saint, handling his meals and nutrition during the last 6 months of constant training, so he owes her a break in return. Strickland added that after resting, he is ready to continue down the rankings, and Imavov appears to be second on the list. During the UFC post-fight coverage, he repeated that Imavov is likely next, but again emphasized the need for recovery before stepping back into another camp. He made it clear he is not rushing back immediately, but when he returns, Imavov is the most logical matchup, and the fight seems to have mutual interest from both sides. Imavov himself has also shown signs of being open to the matchup, which keeps the potential fight very much alive in the middleweight division landscape moving forward. Overall, the situation leaves the middleweight division in a complicated position, with Khamzat sending mixed signals about whether he moves to 205 or stays at 185, while Strickland clearly prefers to reset and face Imavov next. The timing of his recovery and camp schedule will likely decide when he returns to action, and the matchup remains one of the most talked about in the division right now across fans and fighters. Worldwide attention continues building. Move on to another news. All that aside, the big question now is whether a rematch could be next. Following the event, Daniel Cormier released a YouTube video where he argued that Khamzat will stay at 185 and could be lined up for an immediate rematch with Sean Strickland for the UFC middleweight title. Here is what he said: "Khamzat will be back. Khamzat will be back. I don't think for 1 second that it's over for Khamzat. Honestly, Khamzat may be back right next for another championship opportunity against Sean Strickland for the UFC middleweight championship." He added that he understands Latino Imavov fans may not like that idea, but he believes it is a real possibility moving forward in the division based on how the situation is unfolding after such a close fight. This statement has sparked even more debate across the MMA community, especially with the fight being highly competitive and many fans believing Khamzat could have done enough to win on the scorecards. And speaking of a rematch, Khamzat is reportedly open to running it back, while Sean Strickland has shown hesitation about facing him again immediately. Strickland has made it clear in previous comments that he is more focused on recovery and other possible matchups rather than rushing into another fight with Khamzat. This creates a split situation where one side is pushing for an immediate rematch, while the other is leaning toward different opponents and time off. Daniel Cormier's take has added even more pressure to the discussion, especially since he believes the UFC could prioritize a high-profile rematch depending on rankings, timing, and fan demand. Meanwhile, the division remains in motion with other contenders watching closely, waiting for clarity on what happens next at the top of the middleweight picture. For now, the future remains uncertain, but the possibility of Khamzat versus Strickland running it back immediately continues to dominate conversation inside the UFC world as matchmakers evaluate the next championship direction and potential title implications across the division landscape moving forward. Move on to another news. Dana isn't the only one growing tired of Hockett's antics. Max Holloway weighed in on Josh Hockett's behavior during the presser, and as expected, he was far from impressed. He said, "I saw the clip. Crazy. I had to tell that guy's act is sitting out of control, dog." And if Holloway sounded annoyed, things didn't stop there. Yaroslav Amos also reacted when asked about the Hawk drama in an interview with Full Send MMA. He said, "You Josh Hockett, this guy talks terrible. You can talk, and it's very interesting. But if you touch family, touch country, or touch religion, then you are done, guy." So it is pretty clear that a lot of people are not fans of Hockett's behavior outside the cage. However, despite the backlash, he continues to generate massive attention, and so far, he has backed up his words with performances inside the octagon. But not everyone is convinced it will last. Alexander Volkov, speaking after his decision win over Waldo Cortez Acosta at UFC 328, was asked about Hockett's skill set and did not hold back. He argued that Hockett is essentially a one-trick fighter. He said this UFC is multiplying heavy punch guys in the division. Look at this division. Everyone just has one heavy punch. He specifically compared Hockett to other fighters, saying Josh Hockett is the same, he just goes forward like a tank. If you play video games, these are the characters called tanks. They only need one thing: damage and a single punch to win. Volkov added that he does not like this direction in MMA, saying he prefers martial arts, skill development, and overall improvement as a complete fighter rather than relying on one attribute. He continued by saying the division is filled with similar fighters, mentioning names like Pavlovich, Pavel, Derek Lewis, Josh Hockett, and Waldo, describing them as heavy hitters with one key weapon. According to Volkov, that style is becoming too common, and he believes MMA should focus more on well-rounded skill sets instead of relying on one power shot to decide fights inside the cage.